for both older and younger adults. With older adults, it pretty clearly doesn't have any effect at retrieval. And although this looks kind of stair-stepped, these differences are smaller than those, and I think the relative differences here are not different between the three age groups. This is reaction time, so this is interpreted as the effort cost of doing it. The slower your reaction time is, the more effort the dual attention, divided attention task is costing you. And of course also, older adults are slower, right? So one thing sometimes people fall into in writing in the papers here or on exams in this course is that you want to remember that with speed, more is worse. So it was that's all in the tablet is saying that younger adults are higher on reaction time than older adults. They're better, but they're lower. And again, here, older adults are slower even in the full attention, emphasis condition. Younger adults are a little worse in when you divided attention as retrieval than encoding, but not so much. You see a little bit of an effect, again, at encoding, but not so clearly at retrieval, or the cost effect. Same thing with older adults, albeit at a different level. So, greater cost at retrieval and encoding, especially for the older adults. Less ability to control for both groups at retrieval than at encoding. Okay. Cued recall, again, different. Actually, I kept going back and forth. I don't see a huge difference in the number of words they were recalling between cued recall and free recall of this particular stuff. It's probably hard enough. Same kind of pattern with the ability to control the divided attention thing at encoding, less so at retrieval, especially for younger adults. Same greater cost at encoding for older adults compared to younger adults. And again, same shift here on the dual task, on the reaction time task as well. And for recognition, not so much. Actually, older adults are pretty close to the hit rate for young adults. You do get any suggestion of a difference that retrieval is wiped out. You still get the kind of stair-step response with the young adults. You read their discussion section, the results section, actually. Anderson and all find this a bit confusing as to why that should happen. Less so retrieval. And on the reaction time task, much faster reaction times for both groups, especially for the older adults. On the other slides, like up here, and just like no difference on this side between the retrieval and encoding cost. So with recognition, you're getting enough support for retrieval, but it's not costing you anything on the secondary task. So the upshot of this, I know at least a few of you are thinking, why do I care? So I'm going to tell you. The upshot of this is that they come to kind of interesting conclusion about the nature of retrieval processes in memory, which is that they require effort. You can see in the cost on the secondary task, the reaction time cost on the choice reaction time task, but they're not controllable in the way, retrieval is not controllable in the way that encoding is. So you can't willfully kind of shift your attention back and forth between retrieval conditions and say, well, I'm going to focus on retrieval more than reaction time tasks, or vice versa, in the same way that you can in encoding. And I think this is one of the problems that all of us face. And maybe older adults get tangled up in even more than younger adults, is where we experience memory failure is at retrieval, right? And one of the things that this kind of points to is the ways in which retrieval is a kind of automatic process. You can start it, you start to search for something, but you don't have a lot of control over how the search goes or how long it's going to take. So you've all had the experience of trying to remember something and it doesn't come to you immediately, and then like hours later or the next day, you're walking along doing something else and you think, that's what it was. And that's a more everyday kind of example of what it means to not to have control over the retrieval process and the automaticity of it. I mean, you quit trying hours ago, sometimes days ago, but somewhere down there in the background, it's like you can overdo the computer metaphor. You've switched over several windows now, but you've got this program running in the background, and all of a sudden it pops up and gives you an answer.
That's what you call the automaticity?
Yeah. So, if you could control it, you would both have more ability to direct it and probably shorten the speed with which you remember. But it would also be less likely that you would get these answers that you're not particularly anymore looking for. And to some extent you can, if you're not under a time constraint, you can learn to trust that process. The tricky part of what I just said, of course, is if you're not under a time constraint. Which, sometimes it's true for me. I'm trying to remember like some paper that I need for something I'm working on now, and it's a paper that I used years ago, and now I know I can start the search process. And sometime in the next week, I'm taking a shower or something, and I think, oh yeah, that was, McNeely et al. 1992. It's like, it's an exciting life, I think, isn't it? I know you're all jealous. But and if you're not under time constraints, that's really nice.
When you talked about intentionality, is that part of the automaticity or part of the effort? When you use that term,
good question.
You can think about it
from
what you're saying, because the automaticity, it's almost like there's something in you that's going to do it.
People, and I'm liable to fall into this too, because certainly before this paper, and I don't know that it's transformed the field so much that it's changed hugely since this paper, people have had a tendency to use the word somewhat interchangeably.
Which two? Intentionality?
Yeah, all of this stuff.
All three of them? Okay.
Sort of effort, non-effort, automaticity, intentionality stuff. So it should be like intentionality, control versus automaticity, I think. And what was the other
effort
thing?
versus non-effort?
Effort versus, or
Yes.
what is the opposite? Does anybody know what the opposite is of that dimension?
Of effort?
Yeah.
Effortless?
Ease. Less effort. If I know this, I'm drawing a line. I think the problem I'm having is I'm getting a lot of interference because, in fact, most of the literature talks about it as effort versus automaticity. Because the thing that, aside from this kind of work, there is often the assumption that if it's automatic, it's not effortful. But I think their study kind of